want you in our country. We just want the laws to enable us to reiterate that. Because currently, you guys having ZEPs makes you believe that we want you to still be in our country.
I don't think the statement is correct. What we don't want in South Africa is people who are illegal. You know that are legal.
Members of the
The illegal Zimbabweans, the different stories. Those people are not supposed to be in the country.
ZEP holders are legal in the country.
And in Zimbabwe, at the moment, we have got at least 25,000 South Africans. Don't you think, in the spirit of diplomatic reciprocity, there is a need for us to chase South Africans back to South Africa?
To respond, but we do not, as a people, have that kind of attitude as Zimbabweans. So we will not allow that. Honorable Minister, allow that.
Two countries faced the same temptation. In South Africa, a civic leader argued that legal documents should no longer matter because Zimbabweans were collectively unwanted. In Zimbabwe, a member of parliament asked whether South Africans should be expelled in retaliation. But the official responses in both rooms revealed the difference between political anger and political maturity. This is not a story claiming that one country is morally perfect and the other is not. It is about what institutions do when public anger demands that innocent people be punished because of their nationality. The first exchange took place during public consultations over the future of the Zimbabwean exemption permit, commonly known as the ZEP. South Africans are entitled to debate that program. They may argue that it should end, change, or move qualifying holders into ordinary immigration categories. But while that debate continues, existing ZEP holders remain lawfully documented under the government's current extension. Jacinta and Ngobese-Zuma of March and March went further than questioning the future of a temporary permit. She argued that the documents themselves should not require South Africans to accept Zimbabweans whose presence they no longer wanted. Listen carefully to where that argument leads.
So right now, I think psychologically, Zimbabweans need to understand that it's not about you having documents only. It's about the fact that South Africans no longer want you in their country. You are a Zimbabwean, which means the same way you had to adjust to coming to South Africa is the same way you have to adjust to going back home. It's not going to be that difficult because it's your home. Even if you leave home, when Kumbule Kaya, we see people leave home for years and years, but they still go back and it's still their home. And there's someone telling me here that I'm generalizing. I'm going to generalize because I'm talking about Zimbabweans here in majority. If I was talking about Zimbabweans in minority, then I wouldn't have to generalize. So I'm generalizing because Zimbabweans need to psychologically accept the fact that even if there's Seri or even if there's Helen Suzman Foundation, even if those people stand behind you, the people that you are now trying to integrate with later, that you have been swearing at and calling names and ridiculing and telling them you're not going anywhere, do not want you in their country anymore. And you're using this excuse of trying to scare us with illegal immigration going to be on the rise. No, it's not going to be on the rise because you will not have anywhere to stay. We don't want you in our country. We just want the laws to enable us to reiterate that. Because currently, you guys having ZEPs makes you believe that we want you to still be in our country. So remove those ZEPs and they speak exactly to what South Africans want. And that is people who no longer want Zimbabweans in their Zimbabwean.
That exchange reveals one version of the migration debate. The law recognizes a distinction between an undocumented migrant and someone holding a valid government-issued permit. But collective political anger says that the distinction should no longer matter because the person's nationality is unwanted. Then Zimbabwe's parliament faced the same logic in reverse. A member asked whether South Africans living in Zimbabwe should be made to pay for what Zimbabweans were experiencing across the border. Take a listen.
Remember the rule, don't switch on the mic so that it's orderly. Yes, Honorable Chidua.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wanted to find out from the Honorable Minister. I know in diplomacy there is the policy of reciprocity. Our people were chased and they are being chased from South Africa. And in Zimbabwe at the moment we have got at least 25,000 South Africans. Don't you think in the spirit of diplomatic reciprocity there is a need for us to chase South Africans back to South Africa?
Order, order, order. 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 Order, honorable members, order. I will not allow that line of questioning in this house, Honorable Chidua. You don't tell me what to do. You are out of order. 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 We know our president is a president of engaging, and I will allow the minister to respond, but we do not, as a people, have that kind of attitude as Zimbabweans. So we will not allow that. Honorable Minister, may you please...
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for your kind response. I will just add, for purposes of ensuring that as a parliament we will not be misquoted. Mr. Speaker, as Zimbabweans, we are friends to everyone. Our culture dictates that if our children visit and they want to come back, we duly take them back. We do not have a policy of chasing away visitors. We have never had that. If you recall that His Excellency in 2021-2022, he even directed the Minister of Home Affairs to say that all those with national identity documents written alien, or all those that are undocumented, give them IDs. He even went further. I recall in cabinet he said, if they don't have names, give them your surname, and all of them, let them be Kazembe. So we do not want to be what we are not, if I may say this. So we maintain our Ubuntu. We do not want to be dragged into borders that were created by people who are not us, and deny our relatives, whether they are in Zambia, Malawi, Botswana. We want to maintain this level that will accept everyone. So if we have our brothers and sisters coming from South Africa, we will accept them. If we have a South African who wants to come here and their papers are okay, we accept them. They are our brothers and sisters. I submit.
Thank you. Order, order. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for that clarification. And on that note, Honorable Karikoga.
Now, let us be precise about what political maturity means in this story. It does not mean abandoning immigration law. It does not mean that everyone who crosses a border has an automatic right to remain. And it does not mean that Zimbabwe's government is beyond criticism. It means that, in this particular moment, Zimbabwean officials understood one essential principle. People should be judged according to their own conduct and legal status, not punished because they share a nationality with people across the border. South Africans have every right to debate the ZEP. It is a temporary exemption program. It does not grant citizenship or automatically create permanent residence. But opposition to that program does not make its current documents imaginary. That is why the consultation chair's intervention mattered. He did not say that immigration laws should disappear. He said that there is a legal difference between someone who is undocumented and someone holding a valid ZEP. Jacinta Ngobese-Zuma rejected that distinction. Her argument moved from asking whether a special permit should continue to declaring that the documents should no longer matter because Zimbabweans were not wanted. That is no longer simply an immigration policy argument. It is collective rejection based on nationality. Zimbabwe's parliament was then offered the same logic in reverse. Clemence Chidua invoked diplomatic reciprocity and asked whether South Africans should be sent home. But reciprocity between governments does not require collective punishment of ordinary residents. Diplomatic pressure can be directed at another state. Immigration violations can be addressed individually. National laws can be enforced through due process. But lawful residents should never become hostages in a dispute between countries. The figure of 25,000 South Africans in Zimbabwe was cited by the MP during the exchange. Until an official population or immigration dataset confirms it, it should remain an attributed claim, not an established count. But the number is not the real story. The principle is, Zimbabwe could have answered collective exclusion with collective exclusion. It could have turned South Africans living there into political bargaining chips. Instead, the presiding officer rejected the proposal, and the minister said that South Africans whose documents were in order remained their brothers and sisters. That was political maturity, not open borders, not the abandonment of enforcement. It was the refusal to convert nationality into collective guilt. And South Africa should take note. Not because every South African supports exclusion. The consultation chair clearly did not. But because movements claiming to represent the country are increasingly arguing that lawful status should count for less than public rejection. The rule of law is tested most seriously when collective punishment becomes politically popular. In this particular moment, Zimbabwe's parliamentary leadership passed that test. This is the South Africa file: history, power, politics, and consequences. When citizens are mistreated abroad, should governments defend them through diplomacy and law, or punish innocent foreigners living within their own borders? Share your view in the comments, but keep the discussion focused on policy, legality, and practical solutions. Nationality-based insults, threats, and collective accusations will be removed.